So here with Brian Dowd, a Nashville musician, and we just have a few questions for him. First is, when did you start playing drums, and who were you influenced by?
I started playing drums when I was 14 years old, and the first teacher I had, his name was Mike Boyles, and he was a great teacher. It was fortunate for me because when I first started taking lessons, he was into similar bands that I was into at the time. Big Led Zeppelin fan and Hendrix and all that stuff, and so that was fortunate. But as far as other influences I had when I was younger, I mean, a lot of them were my teachers. After I took lessons with Mike, I got to take lessons with Zorro, who was all about groove and intensity, and he just just brings it every time, every show. He's just intense, and that's what I think drummers need to have today. I mean, bands feed off that intensity, and so Zorro was great to teach me about groove, and I also lived in Los Angeles for a period of time, and I took lessons from a guy named Chuck Silverman, who was a great Latin drummer. I mean, great all-around drummer, but the main things I learned from him were Latin drumming. It was just a great experience. And as far as guys that weren't teachers that influenced me, I'm a big fan of Steve Gadd, and I mean, it's Steve Gadd and drummers like Steve Jordan, and just they're great groove drummers, and they don't play too much when they don't get in the way of the song, and it's just great drumming in my opinion.
All right, and I know you've done some touring, so could you discuss a little bit about what you've done?
Yeah, for sure. Here in Nashville, I've lived in Nashville for about 3 years or so, and this last summer I was out with a band from Louisiana, actually from New Orleans, and we toured for about maybe 6 months or so. It was a band called Josh Garrett and the Bottom Line. And the great thing about that was, I learned so much about New Orleans drumming and just their culture, and you have the Zydeco music, you have funk, you have blues, and down there, I mean, when they play funk and blues, I mean, it's for real. I mean, they play from the heart, and it's a really, really cool thing, So, I mean, that was a great experience playing with Josh, and here also in town, I've toured with J.C. Anderson, who's actually in this video, that band, a great group of guys, and it's just great to be able to tour with different people, because you get, different kinds of music that you get to play. For instance, J.C. was more country, and that was a great experience for me, and Josh was more, like Zydeco and blues and funk, from New Orleans. And when I lived in Los Angeles about 3 years ago, I played a lot of shows with a band called Ether, and that was more of like a kind of rock band thing, and that was a great experience because we got to record an album, and just recording that album with them and really playing heavy drums, was always the thing I like to do, so that was a great experience too.
All right, we've already discussed a little bit, but how did you create your own style at drumming?
Creating my own style, it's, I think it's very important to listen to a bunch of different genres of music. I mean, it's easy to get caught up, but for me when I was younger, I listened to rock music constantly. All I wanted to hear was Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix, and anything else, I was just like zeroed it out. I was like, I don't want to hear it. But the more and more I listened, and I became I became open to listening to more music. I realized that I could really learn a lot for myself as far as drumming, listening to Latin drummers or listening to different genres of music. Like, instead of just listening to rock, why not listen to like Stevie Wonder and like get some soul in my life or something, It's just like that's what's great about Stevie and guys like that, or James Brown, and it's just like, it's important to have all these different genres of music that you listen to, because if you want to be a working musician, it can only help you to know to play different genres, just more gig opportunities will come from that.
Who are your ideal musicians to play with?
I mean, my ideal musicians to play with, like the guys on this DVD, are all fantastic. I mean, Vale Johnson on bass, he played with Herbie, and he's, on the road with Kenny G now, and that was just a great experience to have him on the video, and my friend Michael Gutierrez on sax, great arranger, and I mean, guys that I like to play with, like the guys on this DVD, they all play with intensity. It's like, I know I certainly don't. I know the guys on this DVD don't want to play a gig where the guys are just kind of playing to get through it. It's like you gotta play from the heart, and you gotta really play it soulfully when you play stuff. I mean, that's what's great about Stevie Wonder. I was watching a Stevie Wonder DVD the other night, and like Superstition or whatever. It's not like it starts out, the drummer's like 1, 2, 3, and he's like burying it, and it's soulful, and that's what I look for in musicians that I play with, and I would imagine they look for the same thing from me, I mean, they want to get that intensity and soul out of me, and I want it from them, so no doubt about it.
So how would you define groove then?
How would I define groove? I mean, I think groove for me, I mean, there's millions of definitions of it, but groove for me, I've kind of found is kind of living in the moment, rather than playing a gig and say I'm playing, this groove, boom, gah, boom, gah. You know, and I'm playing the groove, and I'm thinking, what am I going to eat for dinner tonight? You know, am I going to be able to watch TV later, or is my roommate going to be playing video games, or, you know, rather than that, you know, just being into the groove and into the moment, like, and all you're thinking about is the groove and the musicians around you, and you're all just like one solid unit, you know, and it's like, when you see the people out there dancing and you're feeling it and the people on stage are feeling it, then that's what groove is to me. I mean, just like, it's a feeling around, you know, it's a certain energy, and it's a serious thing. It's not like, oh, I'm going to groove here. I mean, it's, you know, like I was saying with Stevie Wonder's drummer, or Steve Gadd, or Steve Jordan. You listen to any of those guys, and they're groove machines. Like, when they play, they're playing for real.